It's throwback week here at footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. Our memory hunters are of the playbook. Bring you an NFL Week 4 preview between the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions. So let's look at some keys to victory for both teams, starting with Detroit.
Defensively, the Lions, this is a big matchup for these guys. That defensive line will be put to the test this week due to the fact that they're facing a scrambling quarterback and Christian Ponder that could do damage outside the pocket, and a revamped Adrian Peterson and Toby Gerhardt out there in the backfield. So these guys up front, Nick Fairley, Cal Vanden Bosch, Corey Williams, and Ndamukong Suh, those guys have to have a huge day. Now, on the offensive side of football, I was very impressed with the running game. Running out of spread formations is something the Lions have to do. So let's go inside the lab to see how they can go about running from spread formations.
Now, you saw the Lions last week were able to run the football with Mikel LaShore back in the lineup, and I like that a lot about the offense. It brings balance. It was a reason why they were able to control the clock. So what they can do this week is run out of spread formations versus Minnesota. And here's a sample play that I want to draw up. It's called 22 trap, which means the two back right here, the tailback, which could be Mikel LaShore, and we're trapping a two hole, which means we're trapping this guy. So right off the bat, we're going to block corner, tight end on backer, slot on slot, corner on corner, in, boom, blocking that guy. And here's where the action is. This tackle right here is going to kick out that end. We're trapping this guy. Center blocks down. This guard is going to bypass this tackle, go up and get the linebacker, and here's your trap coming around, boom, running right in there, running to daylight. So if they can go creative with the running game, running out of spread formations can help the Lions get back on the winning track this week versus Minnesota.
Well, I was impressed last week with the play of Christian Ponder and what he was able to do to a very aggressive 49ers defense. His legs put a lot of pressure on those guys, and they were able to move the football at will. Plus, like I said last week, the small ball approach worked to perfection. Kyle Rudolph is emerging as one of the top tight ends in the league. This week, they have to get that going again. They're facing an aggressive front four, so look for the offense to play small ball, get the ball out of his hands quickly, and put pressure on the defense. Now, defensively, it's all about how you defend Calvin Johnson and that Detroit Lions passing game. And the Vikings run a traditional cover 2 defense. So let's go back into the lab to see how that cover 2 defense matches up versus the Lions offense.
The Vikings defense is mostly a cover 2 defense, and when you match up against the Detroit Lions, it can pose a tough task if they widen out the cover 2, and that's how you really weaken it. So we're going to show you how the Vikings can match up versus the Lions utilizing cover 2. This guy right here, the nickel guy, this is going to have to be Antoine Winfield. I think he is the key catalyst. He has an opportunity, because he's an effective blitzer off the edge, to disrupt a lot of time. Now, if they put Calvin Johnson right here in the slot, it allows him to get pressure, it allows him to get his hands on him before he leaves the line of scrimmage. That's the key right there in the cover 2, and that's what has to happen. And you don't want to allow outside release, because if you widen it out, that causes problems. Safeties will never be able to get to the sideline. So you want to get busy at the line of scrimmage, force these guys to go inside to where your help is. That's where your safeties can better cover, linebackers can drop underneath. And I really believe the nickel guy, if they decide to put Calvin Johnson in the slot, I think that's going to have to be the key catalyst for these guys to focus on. So if, let's say Johnson releases inside, try to release inside, you have this guy right there, you have to get a body on him. You have to get a hand on him. You have to keep him busy at the line of scrimmage or when he gets off into the route. Because remember, you got 5 yards to where you can get your hands on Calvin Johnson. Do not allow this young man to get inside release to attack the middle of the defense. So if they can do that, I think the Vikings can be in position to make plays versus the Lions.
Now let's look at the personnel breakdowns in this game. You see the Vikings have the better running back situation. Although I like what I saw to Mikel LaShore, he helped those guys out tremendously last week. I think the Lions don't have the offensive line that the Vikings have, so that's where they can have an advantage. That defensive line of the Vikings will be able to get some pressure on the Lions front 5. I still like Detroit in this ball game. I like the balance that they had last week versus Tennessee. All they needed was a running game to take some of the pressure off the passing game. I still don't know if Stafford is going to be healthy enough to play. Although Sean Hill is a capable backup, I think Sports will have these guys ready to play this week versus a very tough divisional opponent in Minnesota. And I want to give a huge shout out to Viking fan and also Lion fan forums for always showing football game plan support.